Hi, my name is Rich. I use the he, him pronouns, and you're watching my YouTube channel where I play amazing tabletop role-playing games with friends. This is part of Star Wars Saturdays. It's an ongoing anthology tabletop role-playing game campaign where it's set in Star Wars, and I run it on Saturdays usually because I'm good at naming things. Every month, I choose a different RPG system and I offer it up to the Gauntlet, which is this online group of RPG fans and aficionados. We play mostly indie, small press, and OSR style RPGs. This game is the most OSR I'm probably going to get on Star Wars Saturdays, so I'm pretty excited about it. We are playing a two-shot of a game called Golgotha. Golgotha is a black hack based game. The black hack is this RPG that takes some of the OSR aesthetics, but mixes in some newer game design ideas. So you have your traditional 6 stats from D&D of like strength, dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. Did that totally off the top of my head because I'm old school ish. Anyway, but it's a roll under system. So rather than rolling with a benefit towards a target number, your target number is always rolling under your statistic or the attribute that's defined by the GME or makes the most sense. And there's some other cool bits, but don't want to get too deep in the mechanics before we actually get into play. In Golgotha, the player characters are scavengers. That's the name of their what they are. And they go out into the depths, the far reaches of space to find ancient artifacts and try to retrieve those relics to bring back to these folks called overseers, these unseen, very powerful folks who tell them, hey, go find this Golgotha and bring me back X. And the scavengers will do so, and then they receive upgrades, which is how they level up in a mechanical sense. So yes, it's space dungeoneering with some dark gothic-y overtones. I wouldn't even say undertones, like if you see the art in the book, which is amazing. It is very, very gothy and like depths of space and single person in this gargantuan sphere, or just alien artifact stuff. Big in Golgotha. So we're going to give a 2-shot to that. And before I have folks go around, do a quick bit of introductions. We've already created characters. Do you want to say that we are using safety tools? Because, hey, as part of the Gauntlet, we always do. And I think it makes every game better. We are using the safety tools of lines, which means that there's on our Golgotha. I'm all Golgotha'd up. In our character keeper, there's a tab where folks can check boxes on whatever they want to draw a line on. And that's content we're not interested in this game. It's just doesn't happen. And then we have veils, which are, we're okay if this content is present, but we don't want to spotlight it. So if it happens, we'll do a quick fade to black, or we'll do a Lucas style screen wipe. I'll use some Star Wars terminology from time to time. And then the last of those 3 is ask first. And ask first is interesting because it's situational. Like, it's a thing where you go, this is probably okay, but check in first. And the check-in is a thing that we do on a player-to-player level. So, for example, I have an ask first of midichlorians because Lord knows, I put that one in. That's why I say I check that box. Lord knows I've had some people who are like, midichlorians, I hate them. And other people, whatever. And I'm the kind of person where I'm like, originally midichlorians were annoying, but then for some reason in The Mandalorian, when they called it an M count, it was fine. So it must be situational for me. So that's why it's in ask first. And then on top of that, on the layer on top of that safety tool is the X card, which means you weren't prepared for this particular content, didn't think you needed to put a line, veil, or whatever on it. It could be 100% of just of the moment thing. Whatever makes you feel uncomfortable to the point where you're like, ugh, I really feel like withdrawing, or this is not fun for me, or it's just annoyance, right? It's harshing your vibe. You can say, hey, I need to X card this. You can also say I need to play an X card, and then I may ask questions like to make sure, hey, were you X carding this or this? You don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to explain why. You don't need to justify it. The fact that you've called the X card is all that's needed. I just may ask a question to make sure that what is the content is what you intended. I'm public school educated. I often will use as an excuse for why I ask questions, but I'm also inquisitive. So it's one or the other. I'll ask what that is, and then it's excised from our game. Didn't happen. If we need to take a break or whatever other steps, we'll make that judgment call as we hit it. But I like just having the X card there, and it's never made a game worse. Now, if it's a point where we X card it, we excise it, we need a moment, we have to discuss, hey, how do we roll that back? We'll do it. Otherwise, we'll just continue on. It's a thing. Boom, that name has changed. We're not in that place. That thing didn't happen, and we move on. So with safety tools all out of the way, let us move on to learning who our scavengers are. Again, the scavengers are our player characters, but we'll also talk to our players. I'm going to start off on the right-hand side of the character keeper. And if you could introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your character, that would be awesome. So, Stephen, you are up.
Hi, my name is Steven, and my pronouns are he, him. And today I'm playing Larod Ron, whose pronouns are also he, him. He is the ghost class, and he is a super wimp. Um, I'm good. I rolled really poorly on my stats, but the ghost class means that you specialize in alien tech and weird old stuff and things like that. And he was an art student, something kind of fancy, but had an affinity for deciphering some of these old runes and technology and things like that, and has become a little bit more of a archaeologist than he was before. And his drive is to find something that others would respect, because he doesn't get a lot of respect otherwise.
Nice. Now, do you think that we have a character known as the Agent, but she probably gave her name to you, Larad, as Xenia. Do you think that Xenia discovered you at this art school where you were and cultivated those interests, or do you think you were led towards the Agent and the overseers by your
Yeah, so I think that,
discoveries?
being an academic, I pushed to publish, some of this research that I'd found. And it intersected a little bit, and I think that's how Xenia found me. Was I'd published this information about how to decode some of this obscure language that nobody cares about. And Xenia was like, "Hey, that might be helpful. Let's go look into this." And yeah. Yep.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I I don't know if you were putting off this, but I'm super getting some like Hellraiser vibes from Larid, and that's awesome. I love it. That's really, really cool. Thank you, Stephen. Next up, Josh.
Yeah, hi, I'm Josh, he, him, his, and I'm playing Elisar Targon, uh, he, him, his. Elisar was at one point in officer school for the New Republic, the fledgling New Republic, and he was discharged. He doesn't like to talk about it. Uh, he now has very few job prospects, and he makes a living as a wilderness guide for mostly tourists. But it is a dangerous wilderness. So he's learned a good few skills from his years of officer school and from his years of babysitting.
So you were basically that person that takes pampered safari hunters on their safaris. Is that what you were thinking that Elsar does?
Yes,
Oh
yes.
man. And I imagine that Xenia approached you for on behalf of the overseers, offering you a true hunt worthy of your potential, or do you think that you were introduced into scavenging through another method?
I think that makes total sense.
Nice. I like it a lot. That sounds good. And then Jeremy, you are up. Welcome back. Introduce yourself. Tell us about your character.
Hi, I'm Jeremy. I use he, him pronouns. I'll be playing Rar Targon, he, him pronouns, younger brother to Elisar Targon. Rar has lived kind of a life as a mediocre soldier in the shadow of his brother. And so he is just struggled trying to stand out in life. And his main goal is to finally impress his older brother. He had found that he could make some money while he was on deployment by raiding archaeological type sites. And he found that that was more lucrative than being a soldier. So he switched over to that exclusively.
Couldn't get a fedora to fit over the horns, though, unfortunately. I love it. So we have Rar and Elisar, brothers, and Larad Ron. The three of you have been a scavenging team on previous Golgothans. Larad, what is it about Rar that most impressed you on your most recent hunt or your most recent delve?
He was able to hold off a Gundark from getting to the rest of us like single-handedly. He's very heroic, and we all would have died without his help.
Nice. And then Rar, Elisar has this Deveronian dictionary. Was this a present from one of your family members, or something that he's carried around for a while, or what?
I think it was a present from mother, knowing that we were going to go out and about in the world. And I know family is really important to the Deveronians. And so it was a thing about spreading our culture out and about there and to make connections so we could best get by and send some money back home too. She's like, don't be a jerk all the time out there.
Josh, is that cool if the dictionary was a present from? Okay.
Absolutely.
Sweet. So I will grab a picture for a Mother Targon at some point, unless somebody's eager to do that. I'll just stick a little spot in there. Deveronian. Cool. Awesome. And then Elisar, what is it about Larod's Larod's art that you find most impressive, and have you told him?
I think that Larod has is just a very skilled technically is just a very skilled artist, has beautiful technique, and it reminds Elisar very much of these like beautiful murals that he saw in school, and it just is very comforting, but Elisar has not shared that, I don't think.
Nice. And then the last question before I do a jump cut here to some stuff is, Roar, you've got a small but ferocious pet. Does the pet stay on your ship, or does it tag along? And if it does tag along, does it have a vac suit, or can it survive in very low atmosphere? Sorry, there's a lot of questions. Good luck.
I don't think it would serve. I don't think it has a vac suit or would survive in low. I imagine it as like a avian reptile type lizard that can fly around. So depending on the environment, it would come along. I think there's like one in the Star Wars canon that kind of has like mimicry options or something like that, and it can. So basically, like a lizard parrot.
Oh, nice. Sweet. It's like a flying Kawaki monkey lizard type. That's awesome. I love it. Bring out my own. That sounds fun.
We'll try to
So-
keep it away from those type of maniacally laughing creatures, so it doesn't.
It eats
it lets
droid
us sleep at
eyes and
night.
stuff. That sounds good. Who taught it to laugh? Okay, you're gonna have to name it at some point, but you don't have to do it right
Yeah.
off the top of your head.
Gotcha.
Sweet. So we do a quick like Lucas style screen wipe. It's like our introductory. We don't have. This is not a Star Wars. This is a Star Wars story, so we don't have the scroll, right? We just jump straight in. And if you guys jump to the tab of War Hive, you see, and this will be our establishing shot. We see the Javan 3, which is in the region known as Wild Space. Light years past the Corellian Run lies the Javan system. Javan 3 is your destination. The gravity here is very low. Atmospheric pressure is thin, and the atmosphere is described as fluid. So it is strongly recommended for vac suits. The atmospheric composition is a mixture of trace gases and complex organic molecules. And as we come in to the ship or to the planet, we see our ship. So, Larad, what is one feature that we pick up about this ship as it comes out of hyperspace? Is it like a shiny new portal ship? Is it something that's decrepit and rusty, something in the middle? What is the first like impression that people get of the ship that you guys are flying in?
It looks a little bit dirty and grungy, but not like rusty and decrepit. However, whenever it comes out of hyperspace, normally we see this clean. There's this weird, reverb that happens as it exits, which to someone knowledgeable would be, oh, there's something wrong with the hyperdrive and it needs to get fixed, right? So it's like
Nice.
this as it comes out.
Nice. And as the ghost, are you the tech that needs to be working on that hyperdrive?
Oh, I think I'm not the tech that needs to be working on it. I know something's wrong, and I've been telling the others that needs to get fixed. We need to hire somebody to fix that. And they keep saying, yeah, it works fine. Why don't you fix it? You don't like the noise? It's fine.
Sweet. And then I guess you got a little bit of piloting training, and you are the Pathfinder, LSR. So you're the pilot of this slightly older
Yeah.
ship?
Yeah, I'm not a trained pilot, but I did have a piloting course as part of my officer training, mandatory. So I know how to steer. I'm not like a fighter pilot.
Not a fighter pilot. Hoping that you guys don't have any problems as you arrive on the War Hive. Awesome.
Exactly.
Or on Javan 3. Cool. And as this ship starts coming into the atmosphere and you're headed towards your target, we jump back a little bit and we are in a bar. Actually, the three of you enter a bar, and we see at the bottom right-hand corner, it says bar on Llama Red. And if you jump to the NPCs to the right, there's a little map. Llama Red is right on the border of Wild Space. Wild Space is this area of like not defined planets. It's outside of the galaxy of Star Wars, or on the very edge, based on who you ask. Llama Red is this aquatic world populated by calamari and Mon Calamari, not just calamari, Mon Calamari, Quarrens, and also Gungans are the primary, most populous species, but there are some humans because there's humans everywhere. And as the three of you come in, a little bit of dust on your coats, you see Xenia, the agent, is waiting for you. And you guys eventually sit, and she pops a little hollow projector. Like, this is a hollow projector that is smaller than it has any right to be. Obviously, an artifact gifted her by the overseers, the powerful beings who send you guys on these weird places, the Golgothans. And she says, "Thank you, gentlemen. This time the overseers wish for you to procure something from a place known as the War Hive. Javan 3 will be your destination. The War Hive was used by a long extinct species for interplanetary conquest. It was designed to deliver the tools of war to distant targets, therefore to spread the influence of its creators. The War Hive itself, they were designed to travel through the void in an inanimate state. And then when it would land upon a targeted body, a moon or a planet, or perhaps some orbital space, the hive would then awaken. War drones and weaponry were deployed and the battle would begin. The War Hive is, for all intents and purposes, a drone manufacturer. The overseers, they want you to retrieve within the structure the artificial intelligence likely still present. It has a crystalline mind. That is what the overseers desire. Any other objects, glints, glimmers, or relics that you find within the Golgotha are yours to use as you wish. The crystalline mind needs to be returned to appease the overseers. And you see a crude drawing, and it's obviously something that's been sketched off of maybe a cave wall or for some ancient texts, and it is very simplistic. It looks kind of like a big honking beehive that just has been jammed into a planetary surface. Do you have any questions, gentlemen?
I may have missed it, but did you tell us whether or not the hive had been deployed already, or is this an undeployed hive?
It is a hive that was deployed many millennia ago and is no longer active. And the world upon which it sits is also barren. Should be, as they say in Deveronia, a piece of cake. Are there any further questions, gentlemen?
If this planet is barren and devoid of life, or is this barren just a description? Or like, how did you discover it?
Well, it is devoid of life, and as to how it was discovered, I'm sorry, but the overseers did not share that with me.
Makes sense.
She reaches over Rar and puts her hand over yours and says, "I hope that all of you will come back to me. And the overseers, of course."
He looks up, unaccustomed to that kind of intimacy, and he looks confused.
Nice.
So I think the camera pans around and we see Rod's face, and he's got his hand not too far away from Rar's, but sees that she reached out to him and said, "I hope you come back." And his eyes gets really wide. And he kind of slowly, awkwardly takes his hand off the table and puts it down, and is like, "I hope we come back too."
Of course, all of you. I hope all of you return. And with that, we cut back to the ship, the as yet unnamed, maybe we will never name it, who knows, going through the thin atmosphere, but still there's that kind of yellow orange coloration from the front of the ship as it's entering the atmosphere. A little bit of jarring inside the ship, and So this is where a question where I'll ask, is it just the three of you that crew this freighter, or do you have anyone else aboard who might maintain the ship, be there to pick you up or to haul things, or what have you, take care of your weird flying lizard bird thing?
I think a droid would be fun.
Cool.
Yeah, you could have like a droid that speaks like broken English, like its programming was never quite, or common, I guess. I'm not sure what the language.
Basic. Yeah, it's all
Basic.
good.
Thank you.
It's okay.
Yeah, so I think it would speak broken, basic, and it's in about the same state as our hyperdrive. Like
Nice.
Not quite functional.
That sounds great. That sounds great. So the droid comes in, and I guess comes up to the front LSR.
I will wait on the ship. You go.
Yeah, LSR nods. He says, stay here in case we try to communicate with you before we get back. I don't have a good feeling about this one.
Why bad?
Well, this is a big beehive designed to murder planets, and we're going into it.
You not planet.
No, I'm a lot easier to kill in one.
Oh. I wait.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea.
And like squeaky wheel as it's on a roller and it kind of rolls back out of the cockpit. Then we see that the freighter is landed and you guys are in your vac suits. How close, Rar, did you recommend that you guys land the freighter to the War Hive itself?
Within running distance, in case we had to make a quick escape.
Nice.
None of us feel comfortable about this mission.
And that's great because you land and the War Hive itself it's gargantuan, right? The scale of it is immense. If you saw on the little picture on the War Hive tab, that small opening at the bottom with the weird little handholds is big enough for an AT-AT to walk through, just for scale. And so we do that long shot of the tiny freighter in this humongous War Hive, and maybe you've got one of you have a glow rod. That's a Star Wars flashlight. Glow rods out to kind of show the little bit of the movement as you guys are heading towards the Golgotha. So, as you guys approach the War Hive, is there anything in particular you're doing as you come closer? You do see that per the art that is provided, that there is it is open to space, at least on that particular level, but everything else seems sealed off. Well, it does have the appearance of a beehive. It seems like it was an aesthetic that was chosen. There's an odd rusted kind of patina to the outside, and it looks like it's almost like shuttered in a way, so that perhaps many millennia ago there were pieces of this War Hive that could open up for weapons platforms or to deploy the war drones and the like.
And is there only the one entrance that we see?
There's only one entrance to the naked eye.
Cool.
So I think Larod, the camera kind of zooms in from that far distance and comes up, and as it passes over Larod's shoulder, we can see on his pad that basically he's mapping the outside of this to get a better. I mean, we only had a crude drawing before. Now we've got like a 3D map. He's taking pictures, the hollow equivalent of pictures. And as we approach the door, he actually tags it and he paints like a little symbol kind of thing with a flourish, like a pictogram kind of thing, indicating, this is ours now.
Nice. Nice. Cool. So, what do you guys do? Do you want to head into the obvious opening or look for something else? Do any readings?
It's like while Loretta's tagging the hive, Rar is looking up those handholds, ready to take point to go up into this. And as Lorad finishes his mark, Rar will start climbing up the handholds.
Nice. And what is it? What's the main weapons that we see on our blade here?
He has a blaster rifle slung across his back, and a pistol holstered on his hip, and a small blade kind of on the cross chest, so it's easy access to pull from the front.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, it's like whip out a little vibro blade and get at it. Sounds awesome.
And he's not even waiting for orders at this point. He just starts climbing up. He assumed that that's the way we're gonna go, and
Nice.
waiting to get yelled at in case it's not.
Elisard or Larod, do either of you yell at Rar to back off or follow suit?
Well, we got to get in somehow.
I think Lasad is engrossed in the little painting he's drawing here of our tag, and he goes towards the door, the obvious door that we're going to go through, and turns around to let the others through, and they're climbing up the side, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Lasad's like, I can't climb up that. Okay. And I think he clumsily kind of, walks over and starts trying to climb up and, follow the rest of them, but he's way in the back.
How difficult is the climb? Is there like a built-in ladder staircase implement?
So as you peek around for a little bit, the handholds there appear to be kind of manufactured holds of some kind. It appears that you should be able to climb up in there. It's just a test of time and patience rather than strength for everyone except for Larod. And unfortunately, Larod may need some help. But one thing that you pick up, Larod, as you're doing your drawings and looking more closely, is that it's old, like dust has settled over it, but you see that there are outlines of vehicular tracks and the claw marks of large creatures with indeterminate numbers of legs around the outside here.
And I think we hear this crackly voice come over our comms. I don't think we're alone here.
Are they moving? Or are they?
No, I don't see anything. I just see tracks, and I think these big things have tanks.
Are they old tracks or new? Something to worry about?
Well, they're new enough to leave tracks. I mean, otherwise they'd be dusty and have been wiped away. So,
or they were heavy, deep tracks, and the light atmosphere just hasn't covered it over.
Yeah. Well, when we see something dangerous, let us know, but we'll avoid the tracks. Yeah, I think we're gonna try not to. I mean, are the tracks in this going into the doorway?
It appears that they were outside of the hive itself, that perhaps there was a great battle that was fought here long ago. Hard to tell. So the real question, though, Rar and Elisar, as I said, you guys can make your ways up the handholds, but Laura's probably going to need a little bit of help. I mean, he isn't the strongest or the most dexterous among you. So who helps out Larad?
Yeah, Elisar is used to helping people cross terrain. So he's gonna wait up and sort of help Larad, you know, make a couple of the longer reaches.
Nice. So if you jump to the War Hive again, I've unveiled a place called Surface Levels. And if you see the little doorway, the levels that are open to the planet's surface here are open to the very low atmosphere. Larad, you realize once you enter the door, this opening could be, if you access the systems, it could be irised closed.
We should do that. Yeah.
Okay. So as you guys step inside, the scale here again is 3 speeders abreast on that main walkway. You see that there's a central shaft, and that appears to be the way to move between levels. Larad, why don't you go ahead as a ghost and see if you can access the glimmers of this Golgotha? Why don't you give me an intelligence roll? So you're going to be rolling a d20 and trying to roll underneath your intelligence.
So I think, Larad is shaky from that climb and gets inside and, starts looking around. And, of course, he pulls out the pad and he starts to map things and, says, I think we can try and clear this out. And, okay. I rolled a 3. So that's a good thing.
That's perfect.
So I think that he's like, I think it would be best if I could, let me see if I can close the doors to make sure nothing gets inside while we're inside. And then I'm sure I'll be able to open them whenever we go back out. And, gets engrossed in this and isn't paying attention to the others as they kind of look around the room that we're in.
Nice. So the external hangar or whatever exit, iris is closed, and when everything slides closed, there's like this orange rust that clips off, but it clacks together loud, like shoom, boom, 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 boom. You feel the echo across, and as Larad works, you start to flood in a little bit of atmosphere, and the floor panels start to glow with this deep violet hue. So you're able to see, because for a moment before everything started to click on, it was very dark other than your glow rods, but now there's this ambient light from beneath your feet. There's all kinds of debris within the structure. Perhaps it was shaken loose from the original impact, but most likely deposited here in the millennia that have passed. So you have a few options. You could head to that central core. You could try to skulk around on this particular level. Seemed like you were leading the way before, Rar, unless LSR is the Pathfinder. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'd like to ask a question. With the access that I have where I can close the doors and stuff, is it possible for me to see if I can find where the hive mind might be? The AI might be?
Oh, you can give that a shot. Sure. Just bring up the general maps. Let's go ahead and have you make another roll.
Would that be an intelligence roll as well?
It is. Aren't you glad you moved your best stat to intelligence?
I rolled a 1.
Hey, that's good in this game.
So, you are able to pull out a generalized map It is in 4 quadrants. The surface levels are where you are now. There are the upper levels, the pinnacle levels, and then the lower levels. What you discover with that roll is that the pinnacle levels house the crystalline structure or the AI that runs the entire hive. It is known as the mind of the War Hive. And I think you had to figure out a bit about its language to be able to piece that together.
And so I turned to the others and I'm like, this symbol means so and so, and it means, and it means, it is obscure and nobody cares, right? But I think in between the sentences, it's like, oh, and the important stuff is at the pinnacle level where the hive mind would be. But this other symbol I think means the number 9, and I think we can decode it from that. So yeah.
And you get cut off by Rar, so so we go up.
Yeah. We should take the elevators all the way up. I mean, we can get in and get out. We don't need to look at anything else, right?
If we take the elevator all the way up, then we have no idea what is in the rest of this thing. All right.
We get to keep other things here. We want to find stuff to keep.
I think it's a bad idea to leave untread ground behind us. We should make sure there's no one else here, at least.
And find stuff to keep.
You think someone else might be here?
Well,
no.
Well, the door's open.
Yeah, but we've been told it's fine, and I closed the door. It should be okay, right?
Well, that means that whoever's in here might be trapped in here with us.
Uh-oh. I'll open the doors back up then.
No, keep the door closed. Just, it's fine. It's fine. When we leave, we'll open the door. It's fine.
Okay.
And LSR, yeah. So LSR says we should explore this level. We don't want to move on before we make sure there's nothing waiting for us when we come back down here.
Yeah, and Rar unslings his blaster rifle and puts the strap around his arm and starts to move around the corner.
Okay. So following Rar, the 3 of you come upon an area where you see the broken and cracked exoskeletons of perhaps the war drones themselves. The war drones are the size of a horse, but they appear to have a spider, like a multi-legged spider construction, with a number of weapons that were affixed to it, part of the drones. Laura, you can tell that these drones have no individual intelligence whatsoever. They're not like your buddy droid back on your ship. It's nothing like RXST, as I've just named your droid. So
but
none
this
of these,
is definitely a
sorry.
droid?
They're drones, war drones. In this large open space, you see that there are hundreds of them that were constructed, were ready for deployment perhaps, but none left. Like none of them have seen battle. You don't see blaster bolts on any of them. They appear to have sat here waiting until their joints gave, until their bodies fell apart.
You can kind of read in Rar's body language that he wants to kick the drone, but he learned the hard way that you don't just go kicking things in derelict spaceships. And so he looks back for guidance.
Yeah.
When Rar looks back to you, LSR, you and Larod catch a hint of movement, and you hear it as well, Rar. So you're just like a half second behind as something about the size of, say, a Great Dane, so much smaller than the War Drones itself, does not have the spider-like construction in those large legs, but has like centipede-like legs, but it's robotic and metallic. You hear it skitter across as it moves from behind one of the War Drones towards another War Drone, like it's trying to skitter out of and away from you guys. So Elisar, what do you do?
Elisar says, catch it. And he is going to. Yeah, I think he's going to. Go after it. He's going to follow it.
Okay. So if you follow it, that's not even a roll. That's fine. That means you're not trying to impede it from wherever it wants to go. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm following it. I'm not going to attack it yet.
Sweet. And so if Larad or Rar, if either of you want to do something different, just let me know. Otherwise, this skittering little thing is making its escape successfully. Like it winds around underneath one of the not completely desiccated and destroyed War Drones, and you can tell that it's headed towards that central shaft.
Larad squeals at the movement and cowers behind Rar.
And when Rar hears Elisar say, catch it, he dives for it.
Oh, nice. Give me a dex roll. Is that a 16?
That's not gonna work. That's a 16. Yep.
All right, sweet. So you take off after it, Rar, and before Elisar gets out a warning to change tact, you leap forward and you grab hold of the thing, and you get your arms around its back, like it's got this weird metallic carapace, and you impede its progress. But when you do, the thing emits this very high-pitched metallic keening sound, and it again echoes throughout this area of the War Drones. And there's this pregnant moment, Larad, where maybe your mind's eye thinks that these things are going to wake up, but they're way too gone. But you hear in the far, far distance, hard to tell direction, a series of like clockwork sounds, and then a low hum, almost like, oddly enough, like when you've heard an air conditioning system kick in, like go, and there's this rumble in the distance. Then that thing like rolls over onto his back, Rar, and its little legs, it's got to try to grab onto you. What do you do, Rar, as it grabs your arm?
Pull my vibroblade and start stabbing at it.
Nice. Okay, so we have our first attack here. So if you're making an attack with a melee weapon or unarmed, you'll be rolling to make a strength check. So you're rolling under stir.
It's going good for Rar.
That is. You need to have a mental communication with this die roll to tell it to flip its mode. It's thinking you're in a classic D&D mode. Go ahead and roll a D. It's a D3, but you can just roll a D6 and cut it in half, because this thing latches onto your arm and starts kind of trying to rip through your vac suit. So you got 3. Take 3 hit points of damage. Okay. Holy crap!
Ouch. So it's like legs are like slicing at my hands and stuff,
they're like
that. Yeah,
it's kind of grabbing in and just wriggling its little sharp arms around, trying to shred your vac suit and get to your skin.
Great.
You're down to 5 hit points.
Yes.
Elisar, you just saw Rar try to manhandle this thing and fail. He like stabs his vibroblade and it chops off a couple of the wriggling legs, but the thing didn't seem to care. Oh, if you wish, by the way, Rar, you can say your armor is in effect here. Mark off any 1 point of your armor value and take no hit points of damage, but then your armor value goes from a 7 to a 6. Thank you for asking that question, Steve.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'll mark off 1.
Okay, so instead of it actually drawing blood, you can see this shredding through part of your, if I remember, you have like a military mesh armor here. So your reactive
Yes.
mech combat sleeve is saving you from taking some terrible damage right now, but you definitely don't want to stay here letting you do that for long.
Yeah, I will let it go and try to push it away from me.
Push it away? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Elisar is going to raise his carbine and shoot it when it is, not on top of his brother.
Awesome. You shove it away and it is perfectly happy. Like it was not trying to like kill you as much as like the Chihuahua puppy that bites at you to make you back off so it can run some more. And so you've got a shot, Elisar. Give me a dex roll.
All right. 10.
Okay.
It's under.
And yeah, it's under on your dex, and your carbine, I believe, is a medium.
Yes.
So the damage you do with medium is a D4. You see the attack damage on row 18. So with all medium weapons, you do a D4. Rolls D4.
So that is
2.
2.
What's it look like when you take out this little weird centipede robot thing, dude? How did you nail it?
Rar shoves it away. And Elisar is, he has his carbine out as he's exploring. Glow stick on, illuminating the Dark Hive. And just the second it is, Rar pushes it away and it's not like tangled up with him anymore. Elisar takes aim and he shoots it's a couple bursts of blaster fire. And it, they all just hit one after the other. And it sprawls over.
Nice. So it's like, and then it explodes. Nice.
And Elisar says, maybe they'll pay extra for a specimen.
Yeah. You said catch it and then you shot it.
Well, I'm sure they would have paid even more extra for a live specimen.
All right. Well, I'll shoot first next time.
I think Larod goes over and he picks up the pieces that are still smoking and puts them in like a bag, to take home. And then he's like, okay. And, he's a little wide-eyed and he goes over to one of these drones, this horse-sized drone, and he pulls out like some tools and he starts like taking things apart. And to see if there's anything useful. And all these drones look alike, right?
Yeah, and you have to be careful because like as you reach, you've got a vac suit on, right? And it's got a little bit of armor protection, but like as you reach, one piece of the metal just like comes away in your hand. This thing is just like an old rusty ancient car in somebody's junkyard or their backyard. If you're from the deep south, you totally know what I'm talking about. If you don't, just imagine it. But yeah, as you pull it, like pieces of the metal just come away like fabric and they fall apart in your hands. There are some parts that are not completely oxidized, but yeah, these things are, there's no real sample to take out of most of these war drones. If you want to spend some time though, you can scavenge around and try to find some stuff if you want.
So
it's just really about time.
He's working on like trying to unscrew like a panel, and as he gets through unscrewing it, that's when the whole panel just kind of dissolves away, and he's like, and I think he tosses a few things out, but and these are like obviously the camera pans down to them, and they're like the weapons that were on the end of the spider-like legs.
Nice.
And he's not paying attention to that, and he's digging around inside, and it just all kind of dissolves, and he's like, well, does that mean that the centipede is of a different age than these things are?
Well, this thing is a But this thing is a mobile factory, isn't it? If it could have been operative, who knows how long it kept operating?
Maybe that thing turned him on.
One thing that you discover, Larod, at the base of one of the war drones is that there's this like rod, and you've got like a backpack with console and various diagnostic technologies. So we'll say that maybe you have a rad meter or something, but this appears to be some kind of fuel source or like a fusion rod. Must have been the power source for these things. It looks like it's made out of like a amber plastic of some kind. The way it doesn't feel that heavy, but it's generating a pretty good power. Like this is a good power source.
I'll drop at least one of those in the bag until basically Rar and Elisar are like, okay, we got to get moving.
Yeah.
Cool. Roll a d6, and that's how many of those rods you have. Now, I'm going all OSR on you. Be advised that your strength determines how many like gear slots you can hold. So eventually you're going to be carrying around so much stuff that you're going to start taking disadvantage on strength decks and other checks if you keep carrying around a bunch of stuff.
Right. So I imagine what's actually going to end up happening is at some point, Larod is going to be like dragging behind and huffing and puffing until one of the others is like, oh, give me some of that crap, or, just toss that bag. It's not worth it. Yeah. But we're not there yet. I rolled a 1, so I got
Cool.
one of the rods.
We'll just call it a fusion rod.
Okay.
Yeah. LSR looking around the area, he says, I think we better get upstairs before whatever that thing turns on for real.
It just turned on the air conditioner, right?
LSR says, well, if it turned on the air conditioner, I don't know what these things breathe. It could be toxic to our vac suits.
Oh. Okay,
And
let's
as
get
you
going.
mentioned that, I'm testing the integrity of my suit, see what it's called, and sheathing my vibroblade. Oh,
Nice.
Yeah. Okay.
No fissures yet. Your armor has held up. So,
To
LSR.
the main shaft.
Okay, cool. That was the question I was going to ask. All right, so you head to the main shaft, and unfortunately, the first discovery you make to the central core here is that this maybe 15-meter wide shaft that links all the various levels of the hive, that unfortunately there is no lift or mechanical device used to ascend or descend. But you do see that there is a ladder-like structure built into the walls. At each, if you come in on an entryway from the south, there will be on east-west, and just so you can climb up, and you see that there are several other, because of that amber color, or what was it, violet? So the violet-hued floor panels that have come on, you can see that there are, again, corresponding to those 4 sectors up to the pinnacle, as well as on the upper levels. And then there's one that's kind of across from you that heads up to, if you're taking a look at the map, on area 6. But yeah, it's just this empty, and you see that there's all kinds of motes of old rust and the like that's still floating in the air here. The gravity is low, so if you had any kind of thrust, you could get up this real easy. Otherwise, you can just climb. Who's leading the way, and where do you want to go?
Yeah, I think I look up that shaft again, though. There's no car. We're going to have to climb again. What do you think, Larod? Are you up for it?
I can't climb that. What are you?
LSR is going to point his flashlight, his glow stick, down the shaft. is there a car at the bottom?
There is not. But you do see that at the base, there are 4 all at the same level, at the base level, basically the bottom of the hive, the lower levels. But yeah, no machine or lift of any kind.
And it's pretty
Evidently,
obvious that this wasn't made for. It's not like there are rails for an elevator or like cut cables or anything. It's pretty obvious this was intended as climbing the whole time.
Yep.
And out of character, I'm fine if you like tie a rope to me and just drag my ass up there. It's fine. I'm just being a little wuss.
It's low gravity. We can just heave you up there.
Yeah, it's pretty low grav. It's like moon grav, so it's not too hard to carry Larod.
Okay, so we go up, and yeah, let's we'll attach a rope between us, so if we all fall together.
Exactly. Yeah, so we'll climb.
Okay.
We all harness up.
All right. So who's the primary for supporting Larod? You're the one that has to make a dex check.
I'll take him.
All right.
Is there a help?
That is a great question. I will say no is the short answer, but I'll say if you say I'm going to give up my action to help, I'll let the person roll with advantage.
I was just going to say, Larod's trying to climb on his own, and at some point he probably slips, and we'll see how well he grabs a hold of stuff. But I could only make things worse. So
no help.
No.
Okay. By the way, rolling with advantage means you'd be rolling 2d20. You take the lowest of the 2. Rolling with disadvantage means you roll 2d20 and take the highest of the 2. If you have advantage and disadvantage, they cancel out, and we're not going to do like 2 advantage, 4 advantage, any of that crap.
Well, that is a 4.
That is awesome. You tell me, on the War Hive, are you going to try to make your way all the way up to the pinnacle? Is that the intent here? Just keep climbing? Because Elsa, you talked about not trying to leave anything at your back. So that's why I keep asking.
Yeah. Well,
just so we're clear, you're at area 5. Sorry, I asked you a question and I interrupted you before you answered, but sorry about that.
Yeah. Well, I think that LSR will inquire the group. Are we gonna climb our way up, or are we gonna, step by step, making sure we don't have any danger underneath us, or are we gonna climb all the way up and then work our way back down until we can get out of this thing?
We should go all the way up and make sure we can get what we need, and then we can get out. I mean, we don't need to. I mean, we can't spend the money if we die.
Fair enough.
And if we go all the way to the top, hopefully we'll have everything, a wall at our backs, and we know what any danger is in front of us, not behind us.
Yeah.
Well, and I have a good idea. If we get the AI, it looks like all of these things don't have any autonomy. So if we're able to take the AI, disconnect it, then we should see a lot less resistance.
Sounds like a plan. So yeah, we will continue up the shaft to the pinnacle.
Sweet. So you guys just have this quick conversation as you're climbing up. This is hundreds of meters as you're climbing, and I think with LSR weighted down by Rar, maybe you have a bit of a lead. You're the first to see Rar as coming out of the upper levels, like one of those 4 upper levels. You see this shape kind of slither in. It is the size of like a Volkswagen bug with these tendrils, these metallic tendrils. It moves real quiet. And it slides in and starts making its way down a ladder. Looks like it's headed towards you. What do you do?
Immediately hold my position and whisper down the shaft. There's something coming. It's different than that other metallic creature before.
Yeah. Well, so where are we on the shaft? Like, what
you
is
guys,
there an entrance? Is there an exit onto
you
a?
could exit towards 6. Basically, you could exit towards where the area on 6 on surface levels is. This thing came down from, say, 9. If you're looking at the various numerated upper levels there. So it came out of 9, started climbing down the ladder towards you guys, those weird tendrils, keeping it to where it could kind of suspend itself in the middle of the shaft and drop if it wanted to, but right now it's currently just climbing down towards you guys.
So yeah, it looks like it's just going about its business, but I would rather not shoot at it while it could land on us if it
I think
shook loose.
Well, if the last thing was any indication, we should stay out of its way. So I feel like we should exit out of the shaft and try and wait for it to pass.
If you guys agree, Rar, give me a dex roll, and LSR, give me a dex roll at disadvantage because you've got to deal with Larod.
Of course.
Continuing the dice, not listening to you.
Nope, not me either.
Right. Awesome. So you guys start making your way towards, on the surface level, towards area 6. As you move, you seem to draw its attention, and the thing has this, like, it's not built to, as a construct, it's not built to confine itself to anything like a human body, but there does appear to be like a pair of antennae, and those antennae kind of move around a little bit as if it's sensing as it moves down, and you guys drew its attention, and it starts skittering down very, very quickly. Larod, you are the last of 3. You are climbing desperately with LSR trying to pull you up when it wraps one of its tendrils around you, and it delivers an electric shock. Please roll a d4.
I got a 3.
Okay. Do you wish to expend an armor? Because otherwise you're going to take 3 electricity damage.
I think I'll take the damage and save my armor for later. I think that electricity arcs right through me, and I'm like yelping and ah!
Wow, you're down to 1 hit point. Okay. And it doesn't let go. It just kind of keeps you scream out in pain. LSR, Rar, what do you wish to do?
Well, I have a question.
Mhm.
Does the same iris closing mechanism exist on the shaft doors?
Why, yes, it does.
In that case, LSR is going to, so LSR and Rar have exited onto the platform, right?
Mhm.
And he's gonna grab the harness and he's gonna say, pull him in, and he's gonna tell Larod, close the door.
Oh, this is cool. Sweet. So you and Ra are going to try to pull Larod in,
Yeah.
and then Larod, they
thing.
want you to close the door. Here's how we'll do it. We'll say that Larod, we'll have one of the 2 of you roll strength with advantage. You're both trying to pull. If you're successful, then Larod, you get to roll your intelligence to potentially close the door to pull off a Mandalorian scene reenactment. Okay, that's awesome. So, who wants to make that strength check?
I'll roll the
Jeremy,
strength
go
with
for it.
advantage. This will be fun because I've been rolling so high. We'll see what happens.
You get to roll 2d20 and take the lower of the two.
So success.
Thank goodness for that advantage. You guys both are like planting your feet and dragging this up Larod. Now, Larod, you get to roll an intelligence check to try to turn the door. If you do so, this thing, like the tentacles off of you, and this thing is not coming through.
Let's see.
Yeah.
An 11 is below my intelligence.
It is. So exactly, like the iris closes woof, and that tentacle gets cut off. And you see like there's a little bit of like that. I'm totally biting from the Aliens movie, like the milky white kind of not blood that comes out of the thing for a second before it stops moving. It obviously, whatever this tentacle was, had no intelligence of its own. It was just an appendage for the thing. And then you hear like a but the door doesn't open because the rod, you closed it.
And I think Larod's basically, iffy and kind of shaky and everything, and kind of gets up and kind of brushes himself off and looks okay on the front. But on the back, as he turns around, you can see that his whole vac suit has like this big scorch mark along it.
Nice.
Yeah. In the shape of a tendril. Yeah.
Elisar pats Larod on the back. He says, "Good job. That was a close one."
I think it was going to eat us.
I don't think it eats organic material.
Okay. It sounded hungry.
Yeah. Well, Elisar looks at the door, which is being thumped on. He says, "Well, I think we should wait before we open that thing again. Let's see what's up here."
Level that you're on is very wide open. And you see that there are the like embossed indentations along the outside of the hive, or the outer wall, the hull, as it were, that appear that they would iris open, but it is currently closed. There are a variety of small attack craft lodged here, obviously built for flying, not at all like the skittering things, the war drones you saw before, not large enough to house anything more than weapons platforms. The area shows signs of damage. At least 2 of the dozens of craft have clearly detonated at some point.
Are the craft bigger than the shaft?
They would not easily fit up or down the shaft.
Okay. Yeah. Elisar, he takes a look at one of them. He says, "Those might come in handy." What? So, is that the main thing on this level?
Yes, this is the hangar.
Okay.
Could the craft, are they repairable?
Why
Or
you
are they like the things before where, they just brushed away and they just disintegrate?
No, these are repairable.
Well, yeah. Elisar is poking around one of the craft, seeing that it is a lot less crumbly than the things in the level below. Says, well, these are flying crafts. If we can get the thrusters off of these, we might be able to get up that tunnel much easier.
We could just fly up to the top. Why do we have to take
It might be a look. I'm not a great pilot. I don't know if I could get something this wide up that tunnel. We might get a little bit stuck.
No, I mean fly out the door and come up to the top.
There's got to be a way out for these things to fly, since getting down the tunnel would be so hard.
Was there a way back in at the top?
We didn't get up there. We didn't do the flyby up there. That was our mistake.
Yeah.
So I'm going to look around and see if there's anything. Usually in these maintenance bays, there's different things so you can carry things around. And there might be some equivalent of a repulsor lift that you would carry heavy engines or heavy components with.
Cool. So why don't you give me Gonna be searching around. Let's take a look real quick. Make sure I think searching and listening is a wisdom roll.
Nice. That's my 3. I'm gonna roll
I
that.
know. I just realized that as I read it. I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll that.
Do not. Don't send Larod out to do this stuff.
I rolled
oh
a
my
3.
god.
What happens on a tie?
Oh, that's a great question. I sorry. That's what happens. So I think it's a roll under. I'm sorry. I just want to double check myself here because I love this. So yeah, I think that's gonna be pretty awesome. Okay, basically difficult trying Lex drummer firing gear critical hits do 1. Okay, 1 is one's a critical hit. So I'm will lower the attribute. They roll equal to or higher than they failed. Oh, it's nothing exciting. Dang it.
That's
I want to
fine.
make it exciting. Sorry. It's
Well,
just
you can make an exciting
such a-
failure.
I know I can. Here's what happens. You start searching around and you find something fascinating, Larod. What you find is not what you were after, which was some way to lift and move these things, but you find this corridor where the gravity, the further you move down, the heavier the gravity becomes. You can see there's an end to the corridor, but it's getting harder to move. Do you want to go all the way in and see what's at the end of the corridor?
I think I go far enough until I start to struggle. And then, I'm a wuss. I come back and I'm like, they've got some kind of gravity manipulation thing down there. And it makes things really heavy. I can't make it to the end. I'm not strong enough. But maybe one of you could make it to the end. And if they're protecting something, maybe that's important.
Gravity manipulation. I mean, if we can flip the gravity in this shaft, then we don't need to fiddle with anything.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think let's investigate this corridor.
All right. Then whoever wants to head down the corridor needs to make a strength check.
Okay. No.
Oh my, Elisar.
Rar might have a chance, but Elisar cannot make it through.
Yeah, you reach a point, maybe 2/3 of the way through, far past where Larod walked. In this corridor, it actually looks like it gets a little narrower. It's obvious that the war drones, none of those could easily fit through this area. Rar, if you see your brother's kind of stuck and tired, like he's struggling. I mean, I know you want to.
I will immediately go to help him out and maybe go further if I can.
Yeah, you want to impress your older brother? Let's keep that in mind. Give us a strength check.
Okay. This could be the one re-roll that I.
It could be.
Impress my brother.
The second die stands, however. So you.
Oh yeah. Well, it can't get worse than that, can it?
Cannot get worse than a 20.
It can get a lot better though.
Wow. That is feast of famine. Oh, what a swingy Swiss system we have. You make your way all the way through. It was an effort, Rar. Do you grunt with the effort, or you got a 1? So is this a thing where you look totally cool, or do you struggle past the pain? Which do you think would be more impressive for Elisar?
I think it's he's not making noise, but you can see some strain on his face.
Nice.
But it's one of those things we have to not show our pain because we don't want to be a target out there in the battle. So
nice.
I go up to him and like place my hand on his shoulder and go, "I got this, bro." And then Keep going.
Nice. So you pass by Elisar. Elisar, you watch your younger brother as he struggles, but makes his way into this room. And Rar, this room at the end of the corridor, you see in various hues of blues and greens collected holographic images of the skeletal structures of 100 different species. Everything that this War Hive has defeated and cataloged over its centuries of activity. And among them, you see the skeletal design of the Deveronian. See others too that you recognize, and still more that you don't.
And this is like a holographic display that I could type around on.
It's like $100 graphic displays. It's like a museum of these things.
I think while you're down
Conquest.
there, Lorad is yelling at you, yes, we're looking for a lift. It would look like this, and it's about this big. And you hear this down the hallway.
Yeah, no lift.
And yelling back is like, there's nothing like that here, but they seem to be cataloging the lists of creatures that they've defeated and planets that they've destroyed. It's like
Elisar,
museum.
in the hallway is the stranger. He says, "Look for a control panel. See if there's some way you can turn off the gravity field."
And I look around.
Give me
for
an
that
intelligence.
type of thing. Yeah.
Oh, searching. Sorry, wisdom.
Yeah. That's got to be. Oh, not bad.
Yeah, your wisdom is better. So
Not quite good enough.
So you
There's
look
lots
around,
of panels. There's lots of panels over here.
you find a bunch of panels. They're not in a language you understand, so it's kind of terrifying. Like you could just hit random buttons, but within the panel, you see that there's this like script that appears on the data readout, and it repeats, and it's a bunch of symbols. It's in a language you don't understand. But the one thing that you get out of it is there's a repetition of certain symbols, almost like a chorus to a song. Like, and there's definite there is a pattern to maybe Larod could figure it out.
Yeah, I think we've been in this kind of a position before where I was able to reach to a place where the others couldn't. And so I record what I see on a data pad.
Nice.
And I was like, to the best of my ability, I was just like, I can't do it, but I know these guys are better and smarter than me.
We probably have suit cameras anyway that you can check once we get back to the ship.
Sure.
Yeah, so I'll record those things on the data pad that I saw, and we can process.
Oh, by the way, the gravity in this room is just like, it's great. It's butter. It feels great in here.
It's like they just didn't want anyone to come into this room or something, but it's nice down here. All right, I'm going to gather myself and come back.
All right. Elisar yells back, and he heads back down the tunnel into the hangar bay.
And Elisar, it was like less so for Larod because he put early, but man, your muscles are just filled with like lactic acid, and it's tired. It's like you just went through a pretty rough workout. So Rar, it's weird experience. Like just stepping into the corridor is hard, but it gets progressively easier, even though it's difficult. But you're able to make your way back to the hangar itself.
And I hand the data pad that I recorded what I saw to the rod and just lean against the wall and pull out like a drinking device and kind of catch my breath as I look over at the other two.
This is a thing where you're gonna like tip up the vac
Yeah.
suit and
There's a little like camelback straw you can poke through.
So yeah, Larod, this has been handed over to you. What do you do?
So I think I'd do, of course, what I would normally do. I'm gonna try and look through it, and as I see the language, I'm gonna see if I can't kind of figure out what it is.
Cool.
So I have high tech, which is advantage to use technology, and I've got a talent of read some of the data hidden in the depths of glimmers. So what does a talent do for you?
A talent gives you a +1 to that check. Remember, it's a roll under, so it's like a +1 to your attribute that you're checking against. And so you're going to be rolling with advantage against intelligence +1. So you need to roll under a 14 with either of those d20s in your 2d20 roll.
So I'll roll that.
Damn.
Nope.
You also pick up the same stuff that Rar did because you're smart. You guys are both smart. You see that there's a pattern. You see that there's like a repeated line a few times. And you can't get any meaning whatsoever from it. But you get the impression that this is either a song or a poem.
I think what's really distracted me from all of this is the sight of the skeletal taking apart of all the different peoples, including I think I see the Davaronian, and I'm like panicked, and I'm like, so I'm not really focused in on this song thing. I think I'd probably run through a translator or something kind of minimal. And maybe I might at some point in my desperation, turn that on and try and sing it back at something that's attacking us or something like that. But otherwise, yeah, nothing.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so you're still puzzling through, you're logging, capturing some of the repeated symbols. Maybe you can find a tabula rasa at some point that will help to unlock it. But yeah, right now you're just given some impressions. And yeah, I think as part of your failure, you also see that it at some point defeated the Togruta and cataloged it as well.
Ugh. Can we rest here?
You can, and I would recommend that you of all of them do.
So how does that work?
Great question. So resting. If the PC spends an hour resting, which means they remain inactive in a relatively secure location, you can roll your HD, your hit dice, and add that many hit points back to your total. You can't exceed your maximum hit points this way.
Okay.
You can also check used armor value dice to see if your armor can be repaired. If you spend an entire day resting, you can roll recover basically up to your max.
You guys don't mind if we spend an hour here?
No, we need to wait for that thing to get out of the corridor anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, while you rest, because Elisar hasn't been injured yet, he's gonna see if he can't get any usable thrusters out of the leftover hangar platforms.
Cool. Then just double checking, like my instinct is to go with intelligence, but I want to just take a look at the other attributes to see if there's anything. And I think it's going to be like in intelligence, you got to find.
That makes sense.
And be creative, and yeah. So there you go.
Fair enough. That is a 3.
Wow. Jeremy, that's Joss what he's doing to the die roller, because sweet. You are able to find a few operable thrusters. That fuel rod, those fuel rods that Rod got will probably power those suckers, and you could rig together some kind of device. Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel pretty confident that you could manage that with a bit of help.
Excellent.
So, while I'm resting, so I would roll that. So on the technical thing, I'll roll my hit die.
Yep,
And
and
what
that's
was it
what you
said about
recover.
armor? I can
Oh,
check
oh.
to see if I can repair it.
You can repair your armor. Yes, you can try to repair your armor.
And what was how did I do that?
It's over on column J of the rules, but I'll read it real quick too. So after the action, you can investigate the armor to see if it can be repaired. For each AV, a D6 is rolled. If the result is above the armor value, then the AV point is recovered. Remember, you've got 2 armor pieces here, your helmet and your thing. So while it may show a 7, it's not a 7. Let's say that the harm that you took was on your actual mesh suit, not the helmet, because remember, it was on your arm. So as we look at your gear where it's listed, it's an AV3 mech sleeve, combat sleeve. So you just need to roll a D6, and per the rules, if you roll above the AV value, then the AV point is recovered. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And the same for Larod. If you also want to fiddle around or ask someone else to fiddle around with your AV2 bodysuit, or let's try, you just took harm. So you're just going to try to recover harm.
Oh, I did repair it.
Awesome. So your AV goes back up to 7. What in the world was that roll, Jeremy?
I thought I was just doing.
It's okay. When
Something
you
else.
add dice, they'll just like stick there unless you exit.
Yeah,
So it's all
okay.
good.
No, I see.
So Steven, do you want to roll Larod's hit dice to see how many hit points you recover?
Oh, I did. I rolled that. I got a 1.
Oh,
So I got 1
man.
hit point back.
So
No, it's fine.
4.
Oh, so wait. Are you going to have... So your current should be on the left-hand side, and your total should be on the right-hand side. So it should be 2, then 4 for Larod. And I should put little stuff to make that clearer in my character keeper, which I just took a black hat character keeper and modified the crap out of it. So cool. So you guys rest for a while. That sound of the air conditioning coming on sound, like that hasn't stopped. So the quiet of the War Hive when you first came in is no longer. There is a definite constant sound of something on. The power is on here as well. You have the violet hued floor panels. It's not every single floor panel is enough to where it would pass OSHA standards, but you can see is definitely ambient light to see most anywhere. And yeah, you guys are in the hangar bay. When you finish up resting, you feel better, Larod, as better as you think you're gonna feel, but man, you still feel terrible.
Yeah. I think whenever they call an end to the rest period, I'm like, already? Oh. And I kind of reluctantly get up, and I'm like, okay, it's time to move on.
All right. So, checking time. Do you guys want to proceed into the upper levels and potentially have a cliffhanger? Do we want to stop here? Just checking in. We got basically half an hour, and I do like to say the last 10 or so minutes for feedback, that kind of stuff.
Let's
Continue
go on
on?
up and see. Yeah.
All right. Cool. So, yeah. Who's going to Iris open the door?
I'll Iris open the door, but I'm going to be nowhere near it.
Yeah.
I will be standing near it.
We're standing at the door, and Rod is around the corner with the data pad in his hand.
Blaster rifle.
Guess what's waiting for you on the other side of the Iris door when it opens up? Why, that would be the same weird antenna, tentacled metallic robot that was chased you here. It's on one tentacle, but it's going to use its other tentacles to try to pull you guys into the shaft. But you've got the drop on it. It didn't know. I mean, it had to make sense because it maybe could, but you get the first shot. I think RAR says have you make a dex check here.
Yes.
You were born to shoot things.
Hey.
Hey, that's awesome. You're using your medium.
Assault.
Oh, your assault? Nice.
Yes.
So then you are rolling a d8.
For
7.
I was ready.
Don't you also have a pool of damage thing that you can do?
Oh, you do. You do.
Oh,
you
yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's pool damage equal to your level, but tied depending on the weapon you're using. So it can be assigned to a target within a line of sight. Oh, cool. So I think that's just when you get in a mass battle, you can just make an extra damage without even having to make a hit roll. So
okay.
it looks like to me.
But in this case, I was basically just ready. It was like this readied for this thing to still be there and just unloaded on it.
Yeah, you hit it on its like front of its carapace with the antenna. One of the antennae blasts off. You see it sparks forward some of that that white liquid, but it's not down yet, LSR.
Yeah. And at the same time as you know, a moment after RAR opens fire on it, LSR also he's a little bit less prepared, I think, for the door to be opening, but he gets over the shock and he opens fire on the tentacle thing. And that is a 12 under dexterity.
Yeah, you guys, a roll under.
Yeah. So still with that carbine, and that is a 1.
Oh, that
So,
is good. So sweet.
yeah.
That is fantastic. Thank goodness for your amazing dexterity. So that is a 1. Sweet. So you guys unload on this thing, fill it for a few with several holes. It lashes out, and I'm just gonna roll a single d4. You RAR are a 3 and a 4, which means LSR is a 1 and a 2, and I'd be a 1. LSR, this thing, it lashes out with a tentacle that knocks you to the ground. Please roll me a d4.
Okay. That is a 3.
All right, you are going to take 3 points of damage unless your armor eats it.
My armor, I am going to say, eats it.
Sweet. I'm going to say it is your helmet. And there's just a tiny, not enough to let anything in, but there's just the tiniest little spider crack that appears on the side. Yeah, you see that little spider crack, and bam, and your bell's rung, but you take no hit points of damage. So Rar, and hey, Larod, you haven't done anything other than open a door. Do you want to do anything, Larod? This thing seems to be coming in now.
Yeah, close that damn door.
Oh, you're gonna close the door on it? Give me an intelligence roll and see if you do it fast enough before the thing skitters in.
Okay.
That's hilarious. This poor dumb guardian. It comes halfway in and you slice it in half, and the thing falls over, spurts out that white fluid a few times. It kind of spatters up onto the iris and drips down, and the thing wriggles a couple of times, and the tentacle tries to draw it for who puts it out. It's not. Here's the thing: it's defeated. You can put it out of its misery. Doesn't look like it's going through misery as much as trying to continue to move, or you could do something else.
So I think Larod actually, whenever it's still wriggling and squirting milky fluid, screams, slips and falls in the milky fluid, and starts to back away like, ah!
I just want to point this out before we get to decision, because I think this is neat. In the rules over on column J, defeat, when a character is reduced to 0 hit points, which this is, they are defeated. At this point, they are at the mercy of their opponent. They may be wounded, bleeding, or knocked out, but they aren't necessarily dying. However, they serve no credible threat and are unable to form a coherent opposition. Instead, the victor in the conflict gets to decide what happens to their opponent. Perhaps they flee, knocked unconscious, captured. Either way, they're no longer able to oppose the enemy. And then if a PC is reduced to 0 hit points, they've also been defeated. What happens next is up to the GM. I think that's a neat kind of modification. Like, it doesn't have to be death. You won. You decide what's going on. The rod, you slip and fall on some of the fluids.
Yeah.
And
LSR crawls up off the floor. He rubs the back of his vac helmet, and he looks at the still wriggling beasts. He says, "Lorad, can you interface with that thing? Can you turn it off? Can you keep it here for us when we get back down?"
I think, out of character, if you'd like me to, I can. But I think you'd have to calm me down because I think I'm going to be just freaked out that it's in here.
Yeah.
Ah!
you want to make a LSR? Do you want to make a charisma roll to calm him
Sure.
down?
I
Role
would
play it out a little
happily
bit.
make a charisma roll to calm him down. Let me reload. Roll with me because I always get to find it very fidgety. And that is 11, which is under
stinks.
my charisma. So Lorad does not respond. And LSR walks over to Lorad and he slaps him in the vac helmet. And it doesn't even impact him, but it does ring on the helmet and it sort of shocks him a little bit.
That's right. So I'm like, yeah, let me see. I bet I can do something. And I'm going to go over and try and interface with it. So one of the talents I didn't take, does it apply? There's something about guardians in there.
Yeah, it just means you don't have an extra plus
Okay.
one. It's not a talent where you're super good at it, but you're aware of it. It's within your class.
Okay,
structure. So you want to try to reprogram?
Yeah, so the ghost is able to reprogram defeated guardians, for example, setting them up as traps or ambushes. So I'm going to try and do that. Is that an intelligence check?
It is
Okay.
indeed.
I rolled a 10, and my intelligence is a 13.
Sweet. So yeah, you clear out whatever vestigial programming is in this thing, are able to put in an override, and it is ready for orders.
So I think
Does it want to be a yeah? What
I
do you
think
do?
for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this. I think by taking this one, I'm going to make this sort of my camel, right? This is the thing I'm going to lash myself to climb up the inner wall, so no one else has to mess with it.
I don't know why I have the song Pony stuck in my head right now. It's super not what's going on, but that's what popped into my head. Yeah, so the rod like reprograms the thing and I guess climb up on its little back.
Yeah.
It's got 3 operating tentacles. It had more, but it was cut in half. And it's functional as a mount. That's amazing.
I think it's more horrifying now than it was before.
It's got a blaster bolt in what you would call a head, but it wasn't his head, and one antenna is gone. It just spurts every once in a while. That's great. So this thing has a usage die. This is another cool bit in the Black Hack. So because it has been wounded so much, it's going to eventually become inoperable. When I tell you, hey, you're going to need to expend it, you'll be rolling that die. And if you roll a 1 or a 2 on it, well, a 1 or 2, then that die goes down to show that it's becoming more and more disrepaired, more broken. We're going to say that this thing's a D6 because you guys have jacked up pretty hard. I mean, you took it to effectively 0 hit points. So you now have a D6 mount, the rod.
Perfect.
Yeah, and your D6 mount was the its original purpose was to rid the central core of parasites.
And I think so. While I'm working on this and trying to get it done, I think the others are kind of pacing around, and I think that LSR overhears me saying, "Get it together, Lorad. You can do this. You shouldn't have panicked back there. It took LSR had to, snap you out of it. That's not good enough. You can do better." Yeah, just talking to himself while he's working on it.
Nice.
I think Rar would look over at Elisar at some point, and maybe we have some sort of brotherly like sigh about him. This moment, like, here we go again. We got to figure out a way to build this guy up.
Yeah, we share a very knowing glance.
So I imagine you guys iris the door open to look down into the shaft. When you look down, you see the violet hued floor panel at the very, very lower levels, and the other half of the thing has stopped moving. You see this pool of the white fluid has gone out, and the thing it's just a corpse. So you can make your way up the shaft again, climbing the ladder, and Elisar, you see Larod come out and this new mount. The tentacles are very good. All three of the remaining tentacles are helping to climb, and it's uneven. Larod, like, this thing isn't quite as agile as it was when it was fully operational, but hey, you don't have to climb, right?
Right, and I don't hamper anyone with a rope either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I assume you guys are headed to the upper levels, hoping to make your way to the pinnacle?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. So one thing that you notice as you are heading past the 4 open irises of the upper levels is, first of all 4 of them are now open. They were not before. So during your rest period, that changed. And yeah, so as you're approaching those 4 open doorways, Elisar, I imagine you're probably ahead, being a pathfinder. Anything you wish to do?
I'm gonna peep up over the edge. Not gonna go in, but I'm gonna. But while we're still below the opening, Elisar is gonna sort of lean over the edge and just look in, a little bit sneaky.
Nice. Cool. So as you glance up and over, like your eye just peering along the violet covered floor panels, you're looking into, we'll say that, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll say it's space 10, just so if you're looking at the upper levels part. And what you see there is that there are about 20 machines. They do not look like the war drones, the horse-sized spider things. They don't look like the flying drones, which I didn't really define their particular look, but it was somewhat crystalline about the general form of like what were the crap. I'm stuck on it and I'm going to ask. Vipers, I think, in BSG. The name of the good guy ships, like their spaceships, weren't they called Vipers? Am I wrong? Yes. Okay, good. Kind of like the Viper. Doesn't matter. Like a shaft, because everything in space has to look a little bit like a penis, because men made it. And we're just so excited with ourselves. Anyway, there are about 20 of these squat cylinders, about human-sized, and 2 of them are flashing with protrusion of nano-sharp spines. And the flash is almost like, in a macabre way, like a heartbeat. But yeah, 2 of those 20 appear to be flashing. And yeah, there's that. What do you do, Elisar?
Elisar leans back down below the precipice. He says, "There are active machines in there." In a hushed tone, and he looks at Larod, who is currently sitting pretty, and he says, "Before we get in sight of them, can you do anything?"
I'm not a magician, and so I think I'll get up as close as I can and try and interface to see if I can close that door.
Oh, that's dangerous. Give
Yeah.
me an intelligence roll.
Yeah. My intelligence is a 13. I rolled a 2.
Nice. So you start the interface with the panel and you're trying to stay out of sight, but you hear one of the squat cylinders start moving as if maybe there's a general alert. And now it starts to come towards until the iris shuts closed and it stops on the other side. But you can hear the clink, 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 clink of the squat cylinders like little nano blades. It crawls on them and it comes out of every side. So like the thing could just, you could roll it over and it's always got legs on the other side. And yeah.
And they're nano blades, so they're really sharp and that kind of stuff. Can we
From a
say that they
mechanical
actually
perspective, they would go through armor and hurt
Uh-huh.
you, but your armor would be fine.
Can we actually say that, like, as I'm there, the iris is closed, we start to see the little blades come through the iris?
Yes,
Yeah.
that sounds awesome.
Yeah. Sorry. Leans back down. He says, "See, you're almost a magician."
I'm closing doors. I mean,
And then a knife pops out above Elisar's head. And he says, "Well, it's an important door to close."
Now, as you're there, for a moment, right? You have a moment to talk about if that was a good idea. I think it's probably Elisar that has within your field operations kit. There's a soft chime from one of the biometrics, and you realize that something else has changed about the environment within the War Hive. What do you wish to do? Like it's just a reading, like a chime goes off. What do you do when that?
Yeah. Well, Elisar hears the alert noise and he fishes in his bag for the for whatever device he's using for like atmospheric scanning.
Mm-hmm.
And he sort of tries to take a look at it while still holding on. What has changed?
Awesome. So here is where we're going to engage your seeker ability. You gain advantage on all dex tests to avoid damage from countermeasures. You can attempt to locate and disarm countermeasures. When you would trigger a countermeasure, you make a retroactive wisdom attribute test to notice the trigger before they set it off. Make an intelligence attribute test to attempt to disarm the countermeasure. So let's have you do the wisdom to kind of notice what this is, if that makes sense.
Okay. Dice.
So good that LeBron's not a Pathfinder.
16. So no.
No. Okay, cool. Which means that you didn't notice it ahead of time.
Yeah.
You can identify it though. The War Hive, or at least on area 7 of the upper levels, they have deployed a nanoplague. It is a countermeasure.
I see. Elisar is staring at the reading thing that he's holding in his hand. And he says, "Well, that's not. It says that there's particulate matter." What? And then I think he looks up and he sees a swarm of little metal, almost microscopic, but they sort of make the air shine a little bit.
Nice.
And he says, "Oh, and he points up. He says, "Oh shit! Keep your ventilators. Whatever you do, make sure to keep your ventilators clean."
Yeah. It's like somebody threw a shit ton of glitter in the air. and it just catches the light. And so, if you have the violet from before, so you see all these like violet and silver things floating in the air. Yeah, this War Hive decided that that's what it do during the hour you guys are resting, among other things. But yeah, that's a thing. So yeah, you guys have air within your vac suits, but you now have a timer. We're gonna call it a D8 at this point, but each of you now have a D8 of usable air. So during stressful times, I may ask you as a consequence to roll your usage die. If you roll a 1 or 2, it goes down to a D6 to a D4. And then if you roll a 1 or 2 on the D4, you're out of air. And you have a choice of keep on your vac suit and smother, or take off your vac suit and whatever that nanoplague does will start to happen. Cool. And I think with that, like that, hey, they've done a nanoplague and the D8, that will be our cliffhanger for this particular part of our first session of Golgotha. So real easy ending sessions here. You make a level when you finish a Golgotha, which is what the overseers do for you. So there's no like stat adjustments or anything along those lines. So we can just move straight to stars and wishes.
Okay.
You guys have all played with me before, but just as a quick explanation, stars and wishes are a feedback tool that I love to use. We start with wishes so that we can end with stars. With wish is anything along the lines of, it could be a wish of, I wish to see this because it's a 2-shot, right? So I wish to see this the next session. It could also be, I wish I had a little more clarification on X or Y parts of the rules. And let me caveat, I am the son of a high school principal. He's retired because we're both old, who was also a Marine Corps sergeant. So I am very good at accepting critical feedback. So if you wish to, as your wish, providing feedback of like, this didn't work for me, or, this was a choice different, or I was confused by that, feel free. And I'm just going to go in the same right to left order for wishes, which means Stephen, you get to go first with wishes.
Yeah, I'll start with wishes. Let's see. One thing, I'm still a little confused about glints and glimmers and the other G word. It seemed like to me maybe one of them was an item and one of them was knowledge.
Yeah.
But I'm not
Yeah.
sure exactly. And I think this is the effort from the system to rename, this is a spell and this is a magic item and this is a, and they're trying to rename things, but they're using different words that I'm not quite familiar with. I'll look back at your rules that you put in because I think that explains everything, but in my head it just gets mixed up.
Yeah, and I didn't do a good job at the outset of explaining it, but I think you're right. I think a glimmer is the Golgothan technology, and a glint is where they wanted to have spells, but I kind of shunted that off. So basically, use glimmer technology as you want, and we'll kind of combine those G's together. Yeah. Any other wishes?
I think that's it.
Cool. Then let's go to our central person, which would be Josh.
Of course. Wishes. Stars and wishes. Stars. I really enjoyed today's game. I've had the Black Hack on my shelf for a while. You can see it over there. It's in a box. And I've been meaning to play it, and I haven't had a chance. And I just did, and I really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed playing with all of you. So that was a wonderful star.
You were supposed to start with wishes.
Whatever. I like to be positive.
I appreciate it.
Wishes. I would love to see a little bit of our characters come out. We're obviously we're in a dungeon crawl, right? But I think that I really liked the sort of moments of banter and the moments of the brothers locking eyes and stuff like that, and I'd love to see more of that.
I've really enjoyed that too. Yeah. Let's make some more space for that. I probably could have carved out like a camp scene with you guys as you were resting, and I think that was a missed opportunity for me. I'll definitely try to make more space for that. Thank you. Jeremy, any wishes you want to share?
I think it was a wish along that line to find more of those times to have the character interactions come through. The structure of it kind of reminded me in a way of Nathan Paletta's game, like Masks of the Mummy King, because it's like you just keep going to things. It felt like locations, and I think that was a time where we didn't necessarily have time to role play in between either. So
Cool.
I don't know, maybe we can find a way to insert it even amongst like any action scenes and stuff like that. I'm
You
not
bet.
sure.
Cool. You went last with wishes, which means you get to go first with stars. So Jeremy, do you have any stars you'd like to hand out? That's particular moments, highlights of play, or compliments about a player's choices, actions, or characterizations.
I really liked when we got to the line when Steve said, "I'm not a magician," because it was like you basically were a technological magician coming through, and it really kind of highlighted this, especially when you were on your like technological mount. And you looked to me like some sort of space wizard. So all of those little flavors and stuff that you inserted with your character, I like the choices you made for that, to slip and be scared, but you're actually probably like the most proficient of the group so far. So I'm looking forward to seeing more from these characters.
Absolutely. Cool. Thank you, Jeremy. Josh.
Yeah. I already said
That's
my
true.
piece, because I misunderstood the prompt.
Oh, I thought you were just a rebel. I was fine with that.
No, I just immediately forgot the second it came out of your mouth.
That's all good.
First, so
Cool. Thank you. I'm glad that you got a chance to play Black Hack as well. Oh, you said the one on your shelf. Do you have first or second edition?
I have second. I have the second box set.
Nice. Nice.
Yes,
Steven, what
I
about
I did not get it on release. I bought it a while later, secondhand. But
It's
it is a
it's
very
been
nice
out for a
box
good
set.
bit. It's been out for a good bit. I've played a number of Black Hacks. In fact, my baseball RPG is a Black Hack as core, so I do like this system quite a bit for OSR stuff.
I'm just
Steven,
for a game in a box.
oh yeah, game in a box is like catnip, you know.
Well, that and plus the Black Hack, there's all these gorgeous like little supplements like the race hack and things that you're like, these are things that I like that I want to bring into my game, so I can pull these things in, but I don't want to play with, not everybody's an elf, right? So no race hack for me or something like that. So you can pick and choose what you want, which is kind of nice.
It is nice. Steven, did you have any stars stand out?
Yeah. I wanted to say thank you to both of you for being patient with my useless little character who has 4 hit points, and a 3 wisdom. I mean, that's not very good, but I felt like I could play a scaredy cat fairly well. I really liked how the two of you came in as both as Deveronian brothers, and that familiar relationship. I think that's really nice. That let us show, like, why are we putting up with him? Sometimes he can close doors, right? And that little look of like, this guy's useless, but sometimes we need him along, and that kind of thing. I really enjoyed that banter. I also, Rich, thanks for so explaining the system was really easy. I know I played with you last month, and that was a much harder system, and I was a little nervous about playing a new system with this, but once we got into the Black Hack and all of that, it's easy enough, and you explained it well enough. It was easy to figure out. I'm like, oh, this is a lot of fun. Maybe it's scratching that itch of a little bit more delvey kind of adventures where it's like, oh yeah, things can go horribly wrong, or maybe we make it out with a little bit of loot. So yeah.
Cool. I have to say, I'll echo a few of them, but I just wanted to make sure that I highlight Jeremy and Josh. Your characters as brothers really worked well together. I thought the drive, Jeremy, or like, I want to impress my older brother. That was a great, very immediate and super useful drive. That was fun. And I am we got to get into this real roots of the Devronian hyperdrive, Josh, if you want to next week, like, because we got to make sure that drive clicks. So now we got to figure out what the heck does that even mean? I didn't ask you. I was so nervous to get things going. So that's fun. I think I definitely want to see, this is a wish, I guess, but Stephen, you're in providing respect. So that's a drive I'm going to see you tackle. Steve, a way to embrace the 3 wisdom. I appreciate that. Some people really get excited about competence characters, and you have the wisdom to know there are interesting stories from folks that are not great at everything. I appreciated that. I still question why you didn't use your armor, and now you're down at 2 hit points. I'm so scared for your dying. I love it. I admire it, but I'm also terrified for you. But hey, only one last session left, so maybe you'll end up playing our amazing droid RXST or something like that. Great work, everybody. Thank you for being open to trying something new, and forgiving for when I needed to like make sure that I was doing it by this version of Black Hack Rules. So thanks for that patience. I really appreciate it. I've had a really good time, and I look forward to finishing this up with you guys next week. That will stop the recording.